Welcome back. Well, youth crime remains a big problem, particularly in the bush, and as the bureaucracy and legal system continue to apply a soft touch, regional communities are demanding justice, including people who have been targeted multiple times, sometimes by the same offender. One of the politicians who has been raising the alarm about this for quite some time is Michael Kemp, the Nationals MP for Oxley in New South Wales. He's with us now in the studio. Michael, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Can I just ask, your electorate is Kempsey. Now, Kempsey has long had, sadly, issues with crime. How are things at the moment? Are they getting better? Are they worse? Are they stabilising? What's the current situation?
Well, James and Danica, Kempsey is one town in my electorate. It's the electorate of Oxley. We have focused on Kempsey, though. We've seen an increase in crime. We've seen the erosion of the Australian values. And social media at the moment, it's increasing the notoriety of crime. You know, so perform a crime, perform an extra level of violence and get a like. And that's really putting our community on edge. Yeah,
and you have heard a story recently involving two teenagers. Just explain what happened here in Kempsey and a number of businesses. Just tell us this story.
Yeah, well, we're looking for the judicial system, the Premier and the Attorney-General to do what the community is asking, to change the law. We saw two repeat offenders that have stolen multiple cars, that have 10 charges each. They've performed armed robberies. They were running a roadblock in September, and they ran the roadblock, and police were forced to withdraw their weapons, and eventually they were so unsafe that they had to shoot at these two offenders. And then they performed an armed robbery at McDonald's in Kempsey just recently with machetes, and they still got bail.
See, this is not what community does not expect this. It is unbelievable that this happens. Now, the state government last week announced a $23 million package for youth crime, which we were told would actually benefit Kempsey the most. Do you think it will work? Will it have an impact?
Oh, it's a great step forward. Yeah. I mean, I thank the Police Minister. I've been asking for it for months and months and months. We've been saying that we need money that comes into the town to be accountable. These diversionary programs, they need to give kids life skills. They need to give kids employability skills, something that they can be proud of. It is a good step in the right direction, but my community consistently asks me to get the Premier and the Attorney-General to change the law.
And Michael, the issue here is that I'm sure when you're elected to Parliament and you hear from your constituents all the time, there'd be issues with health, there'd be issues with roads, there'd be issues with education, and I'm sure you're spending more on youth crime than any other issue at the moment. Far too much.
Oh, it's far too much. I receive email after email, phone calls all the time. I'm stopped in the street. I can't go shopping because what they're asking us to do is to put the victim's rights above offenders' rights. At the moment, there is no consequences, and we're seeing a slap on the wrist and a revolving door. We are asking the Premier to stop that revolving door.
So what's the solution then, in your view?
Oh, the solution is multi-pronged. Obviously, the money for the diversionary programs is fantastic, but we need a change in the law. The community is asking to feel safe in their homes, and my heart goes out to the victims of crime that are repeatedly getting broken into, especially if you're a single female or you're a young family. They seem to target those members more and more. I've heard stories of a 60-year-old who's been broken into 5 times and had 4 cars stolen. A 70-year-old, which we featured with the Daily Telegraph last year, where she'd been broken into 17 times. It's frightening, and we need to make sure that we have something in place to stop that.
What does that look like? Because, for example, in Victoria, they continuously boast that they've got, for example, the toughest bail laws in the country, which have been a real joke. Over, though, in Queensland, you've got Jack's Law, which has been actually quite successful in adult crime, adult time. What does it look like to you, do you think? If we say change the laws, what would be the most effective way to do that?
Well, I think the community's asking for castle law, they're asking for adult time, adult crime.
Yep.
All they are really asking for, I think, is a consequence. We need to see a consequence. You cannot come before a judge 4, 5, 6 times where the judge says, don't come before me again, you know what you're doing is wrong. You cannot continue to give that repeat offender bail. The first couple of times where a kid is being led by a ringleader, we need to show some empathy, some concern for their home life, some concern for their skills and how they can contribute to society. We need them to go into robust community programs that are diverting them away from the justice system. But once you've been in there multiple times, you've been before a judge, you're escalating the level of violence, those repeat criminals, they need to be locked up, and they need to make sure that they have forced diversionary programs.
And part of the issue here is that if you're under 14, and it gets a little bit legally complex, but we start dealing with dolly Inca packs, which they automatically assume that if you're of that age between, I think, 10 and 13, that you don't know what you're actually doing in terms of the crime. But I've heard stories from your electorate of people that have been broken into, small business owners been broken into 5 or 6 times, the same kids sadly involved. Every time their either insurance goes up, they've got to close for a few days, and it's the people that feel like they're sort of abandoned outside of Sydney. But you're saying, thankfully, Labor seems to be listening, and the step last week was a good step by Chris Minns and the Police Commissioner.
Well, the police minister...
Step in the right direction.
It is. The police minister's given us some more funding, including place-based, so Kempsey-orientated solutions, which is fantastic. What we need to see, though, is we need to see that law change to protect our community and to make sure that we can feel safe in our own homes.